Chapter 5587. In general, the ultimate power of Wan Dao Liu can master the power of all things when he is at the extreme peak and raise the space to the realm of the universe. Therefore, if you want to master the power of all things in the Taoist monarch, in addition to the extreme way, you are practicing Wan Dao Liu. Cultivating all the ways to reach consummation, and then mastering the universe and space can master the power of all things. But at that level, mastering the power of all things is already a bit tasteless. The Tao sovereign who has mastered the universe is unprecedented, and he can directly beat the strongest, and it is useless to require the power of all things. Because the power of all things mastered by the Taoist is ultimately limited, not as strong as the Emperor's master. This conjecture is valid, but I am afraid there is nothing that can be done. Since he understood the meaning of Ha Dao, Zhen Wushuang has also thought about what would happen if he mastered 2 or even 3 ultimate ways. In fact, it doesn't matter if you think about it, not to mention whether you can realize so many ultimate ways. Even if you really realize it, it will be difficult for you to succeed in harmony. The reason why Wan Dao Liu can be spread and even pursued by many practitioners is that it has the exploration of predecessors and can be successful. Not to mention the completeness of all, as long as several second-rank origins are concurrently studied, and some common origins can be realized, as long as the harmony is successful, the realm of space can skyrocket. Space contains 10,000 ways, and 10,000 ways feed back to space. Zhen Wushuang's own extreme way is a more perfect Wan Dao Liu. Ji Dao has perfected the 10,000 Dao, but in the end, only Kendo is the ultimate Dao. This also highlights his Kendo dominance even more. The power of that sword exceeded his imagination, but it met his expectations. That's how it should be, with Ji Dao as a supplement and Kendo as the main one. Striking the universe, and even all the time and space. At this time, he was in a good mood, singing all the way straight to the temple where the human world was. After the two of them left, the absolute tops of the human world gathered together again and began to study the space that was crushed by his sword into a painting. A square black void, the entire 9 floors of the space have been cut away. Only the general pitch-black void in the space turbulence is left. Everything has become nothingness. The few superpowers who watched swallowed their saliva and turned to look at the great human world. Everyone, we have to keep a low profile lately. I am afraid that our human realm will have a catastrophe. The great senior human realm's face sank, and he left after leaving a warning. The future of the human world is indeed a catastrophe, and it is a catastrophe left by Zhen Wushuang himself. The young man named Xin Ju grew up to be a disaster for the human world. The headquarters of the Human World Temple. Zhen Wushuang and Mo Luo arrived with fanfare without any concealment. At this point, Zhen Wushuang's breath now is also the 6th-tier pinnacle, and he has a unique skill that can cut the peak with a sword, and the demeanor of a strong man is at a glance. Mo Luo straightened up behind him and respectfully said, "Young master's combat power is probably one of the best among the inheritors now, and if it is in harmony, it will be unmatched." "Thanks Tusk, isn't this not yet successful in harmony?" Zhen Wushuang replied with a smile. He is indeed very confident now. As soon as Miesheng appeared, he left, although he didn't know why, he left anyway. No matter how big the threat is, the real spirit should have a headache in the future. It has nothing to do with him. If he is time now, as long as the time is delayed, he will be stronger. Whenever the enemy is in front of him, it will be only an enemy of a sword. Haha, this time I was also exposed to the light of the young master. Normally, when I take this cross-border teleportation formation, I am troubled by the temple in every way. I want to come this time and he will get. Mo Luo hasn't finished speaking yet. A team of emperors under the temple had already arrived in front of them. Seeing Zhen Wushuang's unfamiliar faces with such a big fanfare, I was a little surprised. In the Tomb Mountain, there are direct inheritors, and it is impossible to appear in the human world. Unless you return to the Tomb Mountain, you will pass this place. But if you return, you won't come here from the secret realm of the human world, but will be passed on directly, and will only stay for a while. Feeling that Mo Luo's origin was incomplete, the 6th-order emperor who took the lead sneered. "This is the temple, who allowed you to fly?" Zhen Wushuang was stunned for a moment. These people didn't even know him. He just got off the wanted order. It's too dull. What are you looking at? Not convinced. The Sixth Order Emperor sank, staring at Jian Wushuang. He could feel a powerful aura from Jian Wushuang. That aura was extremely daunting, only the Sixth Order peak. This kind of strength, although it is in a barren land like the human world, is not enough. Those who serve in the temple have long been used to being arrogant. Although they are also native emperors, they even look down on the native emperors like themselves. Mo Luo couldn't help it a bit, but the fear that the temple brought him was deeply rooted, and he really didn't dare to do it, even if he was already in a group now. Blind your dog's eyes, see who I am. Jian Wushuang's eyes leaked a cold color, a violent breath rose instantly, and Yu's shivering temple trembled. Although the human world is barren, this place is connected to the tomb of the gods. There must be a strong man in the White Tiger Palace sitting here. There should be more than one Sixth Order Emperor, as simple as that. The violent aura directly shook the Sixth Order Emperor and several Fifth Order Emperors thousands of miles away. Fortunately, they all wore the trial armor equipped with the temple. They were high eternal treasures, and they were not injured. However, the divine body has been somewhat broken, and its strength is declining. How dare you do it? The Sixth Order Emperor laughed furiously. He has been in the human world for many years. One who is not afraid of death. The token of the highest order was directly crushed at the moment to inform the situation of the human world. Jian Wushuang wanted to laugh, and the other party probably didn't know him. If you knew it was him, wouldn't you be so mindless to trouble him? He even suspected that the other party was really blind, so he could not see that he was the inheritor of the complete origin. So that he turned his head to look at Mo Luo, pointed to his face that didn't lose to Pan An, and said from the bottom of his heart, "Am I a special one?" Mo Luo was stunned for a moment, then when he wanted to say something, he was stunned. In the temple at this time, the strong are all out, and there is also a super strong. However, the strength is average. It is estimated that they are not the opponent of Mo Luo. It was not these powerful men that Mo Luo was surprised, but Jian Wushuang that he saw. In the past, when I saw Jian Wushuang, I could tell at a glance that it was the complete source. Even if Jian Wushuang is now stronger and can conceal his aura, when the two of them first arrived, they did not conceal anything with fanfare. And Jian Wushuang just broke out aura. Can't the other party discover that Jian Wushuang is the inheritor? Chapter 5588. Is it really blind? Even if one is blind, there are so many Fifth Order Emperors, isn't they're a normal person? Only then did he understand that, for a moment, he didn't notice Jian Wushuang's change. Mo Luo stared at Jian Wushuang in his eyes, except for the fact that there was no change in his body, his breath and origin were returning. It was a rewinding of time, and he could see that it was because the realm was higher than those people. It is estimated that those Sixth Order Emperors and Fifth Order Emperors can only see Jian Wushuang for a short period of time, so they can't see anything. After Mo Luo found out, he quickly told Jian Wushuang about it. It was a big deal, and even Jian Wushuang hadn't noticed his changes. What? Jian Wushuang did not pay attention to the temple powerhouses who came around, but stared at Mo Luo with a huge change of expression, and then blew it out in one breath, turning into a law body, staring at himself for a circle. This made those temple powerhouses very surprised. The two who suddenly rushed in, a Sixth Order Emperor, were still strange faces. Which one of the most powerful people can tell that he is an aboriginal emperor? But Jian Wushuang is a bit incomprehensible, strong and weak at the time. Even if it is a burst of breath, he did not feel the aura of the origin. There is only the violent power, that is the power erupted by the divine body. The 50,000 times divine body can clearly feel that these people regard Jian Wushuang as special beings. Some special beings have inherited memories and some relatively rare genres. They are not surprised. But Jian Wushuang himself had a big head. He was very surprised how his origin suddenly became like this. He obviously didn't feel anything, but he automatically changed. Time. Only this is possible. Jian Wushuang then dissipated from the law bodies. This question would have to wait for him to find Wu Zuo in the heavens, or the demon god general to ask those big figures who had met the world. Fortunately, there is no harm, but time has interfered with others' viewing of his origin. This can also explain why the people in the temple can't recognize him. The original wanted was not a portrait, but a breath. The body can be changed at will, and the portrait is useless. Even the mundane assassins will be able to disguise, let alone Jian Wushuang, who has a perfect body, and can transform into a Dharmakaya with a single hair in one breath. So these people did not recognize him. But this time all were dispatched, some of the emperors who were guarded from the heavens, and many of them knew his appearance, and recognized them at once. Jian Wushuang. Yes, it is Jian Wushuang. An edge Fourth Order emperor directly shouted out. Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of relief when someone recognized him, otherwise he would have to fight with these people. What he didn't expect was that these people became even more excited when they knew his identity. Jian Wushuang, I didn't expect you to dare to show your head. Don't you know that the 4 secret realms are looking for you now? Stay here today. The leader who took the lead sneered, and then a token appeared in his hand, flashing above it. With red light. A majestic force broke out in an instant, and the sword's double-sided color changed drastically, and he quickly pulled Mo Luo back, and at the same time shouted angrily, "You idiot!" The temple array was completely opened, and there was no way to retreat. This formation is to suppress those terrifying special lives from the tomb of the gods, and its power is extremely terrifying. He never expected that he would not fall into the hands of others, and finally fall into his own hands. It's simply unlucky to get home. At the moment before the formation was opened, Yin-Yang universe broke out first. This kind of formation is okay with the heavy and special beings of the opponent, and in front of him, it is still not enough. One thought of the universe. Jian Wushuang's speed did not become faster, but those people's speed became slower because of the true meaning of time. He has not yet received the recognition of the origin of time, he has just pondered the true meaning of time slightly. If he has the origin of time, he can pause this space with a single thought. This is the power of the robbery realm, and dealing with those emperors is simply a massacre. I really don't know how the great Emperor Jueyun did it so against the sky. Now he can only delay time, but it's enough. In his own universe, he teleports directly, and when he reaches the top, he snatches the token in the other's surprised eyes. Click. The token manipulating the formation was directly crushed by him, and the other hand was not idle. The backhand was a slap, and the extremely strong man abruptly slammed into the ground from the sky, and lifted up huge dust. Seal them all, don't keep any of them. Jian Wushuang carried his hands on his back and directly let Mo Luo do it. The reason why it was able to go so smoothly was that the absolute top was too careless and his strength was not very good, but he was not so easy to succeed with any strong absolute power. After Mo Luo received the order, the corners of his mouth raised and beat the emperor of the temple, which was a very wonderful thing. He has long been uncomfortable with these 2 dogs who will only show off in front of the indigenous emperors. Treats the inheritors only and promises, and treats the indigenous emperors, one by one, arrogant. Now they violently beaten them one by one, and then threw the one-handed seal below. When the supremely strong man wanted to make a move, he found that his strength had dropped suddenly in Yin-Yang universe. He was not Mo Luo's opponent at all, and his strength was sealed within a few seconds. He unwillingly shouted angrily, "Jian Wushuang, you are provoking the temple, the Lord will not let you go, you will wait for me." Jian Wushuang played with the discord board on his thumb. When he turned his head, he stared at that Zhu Jian with stern eyes, his figure slowly descended, and he walked towards the teleportation formation, and said calmly, "I'm waiting for you. There are not many strong people here, and Mo Luo will solve them all in 3 or 2. If you don't kill these people, you still give Bai Yi's face." Based on the offense just now, he even killed Bai Yi and didn't dare to do anything with him. Want to move him? Jian Wushuang now is not the former Daoist who was free to handle. Moreover, he is still leaning against the Senate Palace. If the White Tiger Palace dares to make a move, the Senate Palace will stop him. He had already told Wu Zuo what was happening here, and let the other party prepare to meet him in the realm. Last time the 2 met in a hurry, many important things were not said. For example, some promised benefits. The origin of everything should also be in his hands. This time, he has made great achievements, and I am afraid he can call the wind and rain in the 4 secret realms. He didn't worry about going to the tomb mountain. After entering the big formation, he randomly threw a huge cosmic crystal and directly activated the formation. Mo Luo looked at his eyes hot. For cross-border teleportation, all that is needed every time is the crystal, and the price to be paid is extremely high. Generally, several people are teleported together. There are very few rich and powerful like Jian Wushuang. Chapter 5589. At the beginning, Tai-san had only accumulated 30,000 cosmic crystals after sitting in Fushutang for so many years, not to mention the native monarchs like Mo Luo. It is estimated that 5,000 cosmic crystals of all the belongings are not bad. That's why I was so surprised. What is this thing? Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had a whole source of everything at his fingertips. This time when he returned to the Senate Palace, he had the lion open his mouth, asking for more treasures. Most of the treasures accumulated at the time were used to restore Foi ego. There is no way to survive, I can only do it desperately. Fortunately, they were sent away. And also got a token of the giant gods. With this token, it is also useful to roam in other time and space in the future. If you really meet the giants of the giant gods, there might be a chance, which is much more useful than those treasures. This is the pattern. Don't be reluctant. How can you be rewarded if reluctant? The teleportation array was triggered, and the light and shadow in front of him changed. What he saw in the past was colored, but now he has the true meaning of time, but he can see that the teleportation still has the origin of time. Cross-boundary teleportation is too far away, and it will take 10,000 years for a light to reach another world. But it can be teleported in an instant. This is a shortening of time, and pure space movement is not so fast. The speed of the two of them in the human world by flying alone is no longer slow. For hundreds of years, the opportunity traverses the human world. But if you want to fly to the land boundary, not to mention whether there is a passage, even if there is a passage, I am afraid it will take hundreds of millions of years. All the spaces in the Chishan temple are superimposed, which is larger than the universe. The four secret realms seem to be together, but in fact, they are very far away from one universe. In the teleportation formation, it was an instant. Land boundary. At this time, in the Temple of Earth realm, there were 6 extremely strong people. Among them there was a white body of law, and the strength was not weak enough to be comparable to that of the divine envoy. There are also 4 outstanding emperors who are indigenous emperors, who are the outstanding powers of the first family of the earth. There is another acquaintance of Jian Wushuang, Wu Zuo. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo appeared in the teleportation hall. Several Ju Jian surrounded him in an instant, which made Mo Luo very nervous, especially when he saw Palace Master Bai Yi. A huge sense of threat made him a little breathless. Wu Zuo is okay, he has been suppressing his breath. Brother Wushuang. Wu Zuo stepped forward, leaking a smile. Jian Wushuang clasped his fists slightly and said, "Trouble." Then he looked at the Lord Bai Yi and smiled lightly. "Hall Lord Bai Yi, this time I am offended. Naturally speaking, it is a matter of the human world, and to say so, it is only a sack of face. This matter is to blame. When I got the news from Lord True Spirit, I didn't disperse it in time, which caused those idiots to offend Brother Wushuang." Wu Zuo next to him took the opportunity to sneer and sarcastically said, Master True Spirit passed the news to the Yuan Laro Palace hundreds of years ago. You have dragged such a big thing to the present. Brother Wushuang is the biggest contributor to the 4 secret realms. Just treat it like this, and don't be afraid of chilling everyone's heart. The last sentence was correct, he sent the gods away, but really helped the White Tiger Palace. Now the battle situation in the realm has been slowly declining, and there are very few resistances. This is all Jian Wushuang's credit, and if the gods are still there, the aboriginal emperors might still resist. It's almost done. Dogs don't go to places like the human world, and it's normal for some news to be blocked. Bai Yi glared at Wu Zuo. Jian Wushuang also hurriedly came out to make a round, and said, "Well, you two, I'm going to be the host today, let's have a good drink. It's been a long time since I haven't been free, so it's just to celebrate for myself." After hearing his words, the two of them gave up. Since Jian Wushuang appeared, he had intentionally or unintentionally leaked his breath. When outsiders looked at him, it was time to rewind, which seemed very mysterious. Now even Wu Zuo and Bai Yi can't see through him. The pure appearance of the breath is the sixth-order pinnacle, and suddenly it is a little unclear how strong Jian Wushuang is now. The group of people directly entered the largest city in the realm. In the magnificent hall, Jian Wushuang sat in the main seat, with Bai Yi and Wu Zuo on both sides. Both of them are the top bosses of the 4 secret realms. Bai Yi is even the actual power holder of the 4 secret realms, and it is Bai Yi that the natives fear the most. Now Jian Wushuang not only sits on an equal footing with the opponent, but can also sit high in the main position. This kind of identity is somewhat beyond the object. However, Jian Wushuang now does have this confidence. Whether it is meritorious service or strength, he has already touched the peak of Chishan Temple. Eliminating the Frozer, this is the first-class merit. It is not too much to let Bai Yi knock him in public. Let alone Wu Zuo. This plan was originally proposed by Wu Zuo. Although Wu Zuo did not achieve any benefits in the end, he was already very happy that Jian Wushuang could return safely. Otherwise, he would have to take the main responsibility. In the hall, there are 1/3 of the superpowers of the earth, Yukanshu. The weakest in Com are the 5th-order emperors, and all of them have more than 10. After the all parties touted it, it was a polite way. Jian Wushuang was able to let go this time, but privately he kept communicating with Wu Zuo. The iron sword thing, as soon as possible. He killed the other's younger brother. Naturally, this matter must be handled properly. You can't kill his younger brother, so let him be slaughtered again. So let Wu Zuo be an intermediary and let the matter go. Naturally there is no problem. There must be sacrifices. The key is how many times he has sacrificed himself, the life of a 6th-order emperor, changing the 4 great secret realms to a stable. This is a very worthwhile business. Wu Zuo also nodded and said, Master True Spirit has issued a dispatch order. The Iron Sword will go to the long river of time and space outside the primitive universe to guard it, and is responsible for transporting the elites plundered from the major universes. It is also a fat man. This is considered to be sent away. Without the real spirit's order, the long-winged sword god does not even have the qualifications to return to the Temple of Qi. As for the benefits, I am afraid there are not many. Changfeng sword god's original strength was average in absolute peak, and it was not even as strong as the absolute strong among the aboriginals. It was a good thing to go to the long river of time and space. After a while, the strength of the inheritor completely exploded, and the position of his palace lord could not be kept. It's better to go to the long river of time and space to be a time and space overlord and enjoy yourself. Now the time and space Longhe is very rare, there are only a few, and they have all been defeated one by Shang. Their strength is average. After all, there is no guidance. Although the spatial realm is high, the foundation is unstable. This kind of emptiness is so lazy to recruit. It is better to let some of the more powerful 5th-order emperors enter the Temple of Chishan. Of course, the emperors of the primordial universe were also stunned, and most of them had planned an errand in the Temple of Chishan, and now they are also enjoying themselves. Chapter 5590. After chatting with Wu Zuo for a long time, the banquet almost came to an end. Just when Jian Wushuang was about to leave the realm with Wu Zuo to go to the heaven, Mo Luo sent a message. Great summer crisis. Jian was double-faced movement. Da Xia merged into the chaotic domain that year, and with that chaotic domain's absolute top, there shouldn't be any chaos. Young master, something happened on Mo Luo's side too. Mo Luo continued with a voice transmission. It seems to be related to an inheritor. Brolai. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. He almost forgot this ruthless person. He heard that the opponent was already a 6th-tier peak powerhouse, invincible in the land boundary, and even the top powerhouse was not his opponent. In Brolai's hands, more than 3 outstanding players have fallen. This kind of terrifying record ranks first in the Tomb Mountain. It is this person who has turned the entire chaos upside down. Even if he is a strong man who promises to submit to the temple, he rarely lives in his hand. It is really ruthless. Jian Wushuang pondered for a while, and suddenly felt a headache. The people who have enemies with him are so perverted, one by one, strong and terrifying. Jiang Shong could seriously wound Long Yi in just a few million years. Now there is another ruthless person, that is the enemy of killing his father. No. Jian Wushuang shook his head, as if he was not the one who killed the man, but the man of the gods killed his father. Forget it. This matter will eventually be resolved. It is better to tell the other party about the gods. Mo Luo saw that something was wrong with Jian Wushuang, was silent for a while and then asked, "Young master, I'm going to see this person." At the beginning, he pretended to be Daxia's 9th prince and told Mo Luo, that's why he reminded him. Now that you know, go and see. The banquet came to an end. Jian Wushuang took Mo Luo straight to Daxia in the teleportation array. For Daxia's memory, the trance seems to be yesterday. At the beginning, he was just as capable of a 4th-order emperor's combat power, but in a blink of an eye, he already has the ultimate combat power. Although a little single, it also has a record of beheading the top. Great Summer Palace. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo went directly to Daxia Imperial City, and they smelled a smell as soon as they left the inheritor. The blood donated flowed along the bluestone floor into the White Tiger Branch Hall, which was the only one left in the Great Xia Imperial City. The one who sits here is a 6th-order emperor, because the emperor who sits here is generally a 6th-order emperor. Now that a large number of strong men return to the Temple of Earthrealm, there is no shortage of manpower. The 6th-order emperor had long received the notice from the main hall of the earth, and personally greeted Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo. Subordinate He Kuei, I have seen His Royal Highness Wushuang, Senior Mo Luo. He Kuei knelt on one knee, very respectful. Jian Wushuang raised his head slightly to look at the blood-colored sky. He was able to dye such a solid space into blood, and I am afraid that there are at least millions of emperors who have fallen. Tell me about Daxia's situation. He Kuei got up and told all about Daxia's situation in recent years, without any details, even the rise and fall of some of Daxia's families. Daxia sent troops to defeat Mo Luo, and many elites fell. Although the reduction of the vassal was completed, it also hurt the vitality, and the Mo Luo state was extremely dominant, and Daxia had to merge into the chaotic realm. In fact, this is also a secret calculation in the land boundary. The chaotic realm at the time has actually been controlled, and the realm is a game of chess, which seems to be a battle between the temple and the aboriginal realm. In fact, the real spirit and the gods are playing against each other. In the end, neither of them can be regarded as losers, only the strong of the realm suffers hardship. From the decline of the Shenyuan family back then, one can see the cruelty of the land boundary. Shenyuan Depan fell, and the morale of the Shenyuan family was greatly reduced. Even if there was a newly promoted 5th-order emperor, he was still suppressed. Even the cheap old lady Jian Wushuang recognized at the beginning was beaten into the cold palace, and Daxia had already done almost crazy about cutting the feudal clan. Behind this, the old horned man was doing it. In fact, Shenyuan Depan was able to fall, and it was enough to weaken his relatives, but in order to weaken the chaotic realm of confrontation with the temple, Daxia began a brutal gentry change. As a result, Daxia's national power became weaker and weaker, so that it took hundreds of years after the gods left to get a chance to breathe. At that time, the real spirit let some people's law bodies leave the realm. Without the Frozer, the native monarchs in the realm couldn't make any storms, and there was no need to bother to solve them. If this were not the case, the Temple of the Earth might be able to overwhelm the original opposition forces one-sidedly. You don't even need Broly's troubles, you can quickly take down the realm. Where is Broly now? Jian Wushuang asked. After He Kuei heard Broly, his complexion changed and the domineering figure appeared in his mind instantly, that strong sense of oppression, so that when he heard the name, his body was stiff. Master Broly, in Mora Kingdom. Jian Wushuang turned around to enter the teleportation formation again, and said loudly, "Go to Mo Luo, there is nothing to remember here." Now Daxia is left with ruined walls, and people who know are fleeing from death to death. It doesn't make sense to stay. It's better to go to Broly directly. After Mo Luo heard it, he quickly followed. He was even more anxious than Jian Wushuang. The Moluo kingdom was created by him alone, is now about to destroy the country. He must come forward to stop it. Fortunately, the descendant of the princess who rescued him back then is still alive. Jian Wushuang saw the other party's concern and said, "Why, there are still relatives that Mo Luo can't let go of?" "There are a few old people." Mo Luo nodded. The descendants left by the princess did need to make arrangements, but he had sworn to keep his bloodline. As for the rise and fall of the Mo Luo, he is now bearish. But those deceased should be able to bring them to the heavens. It just so happened that Jian Wushuang could use Mo Luo's hand to meet Broly. See if the other person is as scary as others say. It's only the peak of tier 6. Even if it's a change of way, what's the matter? It is said that the grievances between the two began to end in the Shangqing Palace in the heavens. In order to save Broly, Wu's were almost killed him. Later, I met Broly in the court of the Three Kings. At that time, the other party had already taken refuge in the main gate of Guiling Island. Every time I met, the opponent's progress did not lose him. This time, I can go to meet each other. See how strong the change is. He has obtained the inheritance of the first true king. Although the current Guantian chessboard is still a bit tasteless, it can only assist him in the speed of cultivation, and he has no time to study that gamebook. Only the emperor had time to study, and now I can't understand it. Two people send one after another. Once in the territory of Moluo, he flew at full speed. Mo Luo Imperial Capital. This place is much better than Daxia, at least there are places to go. This place is Mo Luo's chassis, which is more familiar than him. Moluo, after you became the best in the past, why didn't you build Moluo Nation into a force-like chaos territory? Jian Wushuang asked with some curiosity. Chapter 5591. The current Mo Luo country has long since returned to the side of the temple. Without Mo Luo behind, the Mo Luo country is a piece of loose sand. Fortunately, Mo Luo left a lot of backhands at the time, and it can be dealt with one by one. Mo Luo said sadly, "The smaller the land boundary, the easier it is to protect. The chaotic realm is too eye-catching. Something makes sense." Jian Wushuang also agreed, and Xiaofu was at ease. Boom! A muffled thunder came from the west coast of Moluo, and the whole Tiannan could hear it. This force is extremely violent, and the sweeping sea water is enough to destroy the world. Go and settle your deceased first, I can go alone. Jian Wushuang was very confident, and there were very few threats to him in the realm. It is very likely that Broly is ahead, and of course he wants to check it out. Originally thought Broly would be in Moluo's imperial capital, it seems that the other party's clearing speed is very fast. Now it has reached the West Sea. Mo Luo was a little worried. His current duty was to protect Jian Wushuang. How could he affect Jian Wushuang because of personal affairs? Besides, those deceased were fine, and Broly had obviously not done anything to them. As long as a Dharmakaya can be arranged properly, there is no need to stay. Seeing the opponent insisted, Jian Wushuang didn't say anything. After Mo Luo separated a clone, the two continued to move toward the place where the breath burst. The closer he got, Jian Wushuang felt an invisible sense of oppression. That kind of feeling, it was like an extremely terrifying beast was slaughtering wantonly. "Did you feel it too?" Jian Wushuang said in a low voice while looking ahead. Mo Luo's breath was low, and he replied, "It's like two wild beasts are fighting again. This is the way of change. Broly's opponent is a deep-sea wild beast, and it is an extremely powerful wild beast in the top." Jian Wushuang was very sure. The sea area where the Three Kings Court appeared was only the western outer ring. In the core sea area, there are real ancient wild beasts, much stronger than the stinky fish and shrimps of the master of the Turtle Spirit Island. Turtle Island masters are at best second-generation wild beasts, and their bloodlines are not pure, but with some inheritance from the Three Kings, they are probably not weaker than the wild beasts in the core sea area. The speed of the two skyrocketed again, and they couldn't wait. I want to see how powerful this Transfiguration Dao superpower is and can make so many people change their voices. After a stick of incense, they have been able to see the stretch of coastline. It's just that black clouds are over the sea, and the thunder keeps flashing. There are also two towering figures fighting fiercely. Every time the thunder flashes, two huge figures will be revealed. Jian Wushuang directly used the eyes of the beast and saw Broly at a glance. The huge figure did not change the opponent's appearance, especially the candle-like eyes and the naked upper body lines were extremely conspicuous. Broly, under his anger, was even more terrifying than he had imagined. His opponent is a wild beast who has lived in the deep sea for a long time. Octopus Beast King, a wild beast that can be called a beast king. It has the blood of a beast god. The strength can be comparable to that of a special life. This kind of desolate beast is more terrifying than the special life, because the special life has no origin, but the desolate beast has its origin. The body of the wild beast is already powerful, and although the divine body is not comparable to the special life, it is much stronger than the cultivator. Compared with the special life, the original source of the desolate beast is stronger. Compared with the practitioner, both the flesh and the divine body are stronger than the practitioner. This is the level of life. The forces on both sides of the war were extremely violent. The 8 giant claws of the desolate beast emperor entangled Broly tightly. Mo Luo was a little flustered when he watched from the side. "Young master, this desolate beast is very strong, even I can't guarantee that I can beat it." Broly kicked the iron this time. I thought that Broly was so powerful, but I saw that it was actually that way. But Jian Wushuang knows that Broly is stronger in Vietnam, and changes everything according to the opponent's strength. "Let's go and take a look." Jian Wushuang's figure flashed, and he went directly to the west coast. There are also many strong people here at this time. Among them, only a few strong people are from the temple, and many emperors are preparing to join the temple. Among them are quite a few acquaintances. Standing in the first place was the Turtle Island Master. It seemed that his current strength had broken through. Although he was not at the top, he almost stepped in with one foot. Because of Broly's relationship, the status of the Turtle Island owner is now very high. Broly was still a disciple of Guiling Island. Today's Broly chicken has turned into a phoenix. Not only has it entered the Tomb Mountain, but its strength has become this way. As long as it has a good relationship with Broly in the boundary, everyone will walk sideways. The two fell to the edge. Jian Wushuang's hands were behind, and Mo Luo stood by. The strength of the Guiling Island Lord was not weak. He was the first to notice 2 powerful auras coming, frowned and looked at it, and recognized Jian Wushuang. As for Mo Luo, the other party didn't know him. Jian Wushuang. Guiling Island Master leaked a smile, his heart low. Although he recognized his identity, he did not go to say hello. They are all inheritors, but in the eyes of the Guiling Island owner, there is a huge gap among the inheritors of. He had also seen the inheritor of the Third Order Emperor at the beginning, and of course he was also like the inheritor of Shang who could fight half-step robbery. When looking at Jian Wushuang, although a little can't see through, from the perspective of breath, his strength is obviously not as good as Broly. Island owner, who do you know? Most of the emperors gathered on the west coast are local powerhouses. Only a few of them were transferred from other places, saying they were assisting Broly, but they were actually standing aside and watching. Seeing someone asked, the master of Guiling Island nodded slightly and said, "It's Jian Wushuang who was wanted back then. I heard that I don't unblock it. I didn't expect to appear here. Oh. I have heard that Jian Wushuang is still a Daoist, and I don't know if it is true or not," someone said curiously, and the others' expressions changed dramatically when they heard that Jian Wushuang was a Daoist. The Turtle Island Master shook his head and said, "I don't know about this. I entered the 3 Kings Court with him back then. At that time, he was indeed a Taoist monarch, but now that all these years have passed, I still have some thoughts. I can't see through him. I can only feel that his breath is not weak. I am afraid that he has succeeded in harmony. I think it's the same. Compared with Lord Broly, it's still a long way away, but the black-robed old man next to him is not easy. Don't say that. Jian Wushuang's strength is not weak. He can be comparable to the 5th Order Emperor when he was Dao monarch, and if he succeeds in the Dao, I am afraid that he will have the level of the 6th Order Emperor," Guiling Island Lord said calmly. But even the 6th Order Emperor, compared with Broly, is still far behind. Now Broly, he fought hard, and even killed a lot of them. It is still the pinnacle of change Dao. If it goes further and creates a universe secret method, after truly stepping into the pinnacle, it is no weaker than those gods. Chapter 5592. Above the sea. From the downwind, Broly gradually leveled with the opponent, the strong barren beast, with 8 antennae constantly entangled Broly, but his breath has been suppressed. Hum. The tentacles burst out with dark red power again, forming a storm, and instantly evaporating all the rocks of the coastline. There was a violent breath, and many weak emperors, the people who had been lifted, turned their backs on their horses. Only the Guiling Island Lord and a few sixth-order emperors can stand firm. This is the mystery of the beast. The blood of this beast emperor has begun to soar. The strong man on the side of the monster race has hot eyes. That's the blood of the beast god. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo, who stood at the back, were also surprised. Especially Jian Wushuang. The beast can't get around his cultivation. The essence and blood of the beast gods and the beast soldiers are the key factors to enhance the strength. Especially the beasts now. When he felt the blood of the beast burst out, the beast soldier on his body emitted a scarlet light. Slowly raised his left arm, it was the arm of the candle dragon. The blood veins in the dark red skin are clearly visible, and they are exuding incomparable violent power. Jian Wushuang suppressed it slightly, and understood in his heart. The beast god weapon merged with him, and it was normal to long for the blood of the beast god, but coupled with the blessing of the original devouring power in his body, the evil thought that swallowed all things rose again. It's just that now he has mastered the complete power of all things, and even created a unique life force, which is already able to control freely. If it had been before, he would have rushed past now. But even if he can manipulate it freely, he will go. The bloodline power in that wild beast's body is very powerful and pure. If it is refined, it will be of great help to him. Although the current beast soldiers had been restored 7 or 88, they were not completely physical. One more thing. The heart of the beast god. When the Frozer helped him refine the beasts, he once said that even if he has all the beasts, he has refined the origins of the beasts, and he cannot restore the power of the ancient times. To fully recover, the most critical effort is needed. That is the mass of essence and blood in the heart of the beast god. That is more precious blood than the blood of the beast god. Where are the beast gods now? That is, a long river of time and space returns to sedimentation, and when it recovers again, the natural beast gods will appear. With the current Jian Wushuang, it is more difficult to obtain the essence and blood of the beast than to become a catastrophe. But now, there is a rare opportunity. Beast King. Originally, he stayed in the boundary because of Broly, but now it seems that he is about to change his goals. Or solve the Beast King and Broly all. For those who threaten him, it is best to solve them all, otherwise it will be a disaster in the future. Broly is like this, and Jiang Shong is the same. Moreover, Jiang Shong had been taken away by Miesheng and had already become an enemy of Chishan Temple, which is good to say. When the time comes, there will be a true spirit carrying it, but Broly is different. He is still a person from the Temple of the Gods, and he has a change in his body, and his strength is very horrible. The opponent's personality is flawed. Even if a conflict kills him, the true spirit can't blame him. Now his importance is far beyond Broly. Hua Qing is asleep, Shong is in retreat. He is the only one who can compare with these two. Although Shong is still the first inheritor, he is not a perfect harmony after all, and there is still some gap between him and Hua Qing. The Temple of Chishan in the future needs him. Not Broly. Jian Wushuang also pinched this point. But now it seems that he may not need to act. Broly is going to be finished. Out. The 8-claw beast emperor roared, surrounded by 8 tentacles, and trapped Broly. The terrifying power squeezed Broly's body completely, leaving only the divine body and origin. He couldn't breathe under the pressure of that force. Cool. Jian Wushuang took a step, his figure appeared directly above the coast. Standing in the same place, Mo Luo thought Jian Wushuang was going to help, and soared into the sky. You don't need to take action, Jian Wushuang said. This matter can only be done by him alone. If you pull Mo Luo together, the true spirit will definitely not forgive him in the future because of his face. Mo Luo didn't know Jian Wushuang's thoughts. He hesitated, and said, "Young master, this beast king?" He was still a little worried about Jian Wushuang. Although the sword in human realm Jian Wushuang had exceeded his knowledge, He also discovered afterwards that the cost of using that sword was very high. Even Jian Wushuang needed to recover for an hour in order to restore the peak state again. This sword is a double-edged sword. If it can cut the opponent, everyone will be happy. If you can't win, then you lose all the game. Jian Wushuang in a weak state, the strength of the decline is too serious. It is estimated that a fifth-order emperor is not an opponent. But since Jian Wushuang insisted, as a guard, he didn't have much to say. He could only be ready to go to rescue at any time. Jian Wushuang, who was standing in the air, didn't rush to do it. It would be great if the Beast King could solve Brolina. He doesn't need to do it anymore. Snipe and clam fight, he gains. Broly had no physical body, and the terrifying power faced the divine body, and then the source. Now at stake. The Guiling Island Master and others set off one after another, ready to help. When they saw Jian Wushuang, they thought Jian Wushuang would also help, and they were still praising Jian Wushuang for his unique vision. At this time, helping Lord Broly would be indispensable in the future. After all, Broly is now in the sacred mountain of the tomb, and there is a faint figure of the Emperor in the land boundary. If Broly goes one step further, the unification of the entire boundary in the future may not be true. Such a promising super-inheritor is an individual willing to invest. Whether it is a strong man in the realm or the inheritors, they will do this. But Jian Wushuang's thoughts, they will know about it. Seeing the figures gathered next to him, Jian Wushuang's dark red eyes at the center of his eyebrows slowly opened, and then a light burst out. Just a glance, instantly severely injured several sixth-order emperors. Even the Guiling Island owner retreated thousands of miles, a turbulent force surging in his chest, and then spit out a mouthful of blood. You. The master of Guiling Island pointed to Jian Wushuang angrily, unable to speak when he wanted to speak. Jian Wushuang leaned on the crowd with his hands behind his back, and said calmly, "Mo Luo, kill them. These monster clan powerhouses die as soon as they die, and there is nothing soft about them." At the beginning of the Three Kings Court, after the fall of King Bai, he had not forgotten the feeling of surreptitious life. Although Mo Luo was a little surprised at Jian Wushuang's position at this time, he didn't hesitate to shoot directly. Several sixth-order emperors were like little chickens in Mo Luo's hands. Chapter 5593. The cunning Emperor Tian Chan turned into his body and wanted to rush into the sea, but was caught by Mo Luo's giant hand directly in the palm of his hand, and he tore it to pieces. The owner of Guiling Island was dumbfounded, and the rest of the people did not dare to breathe. It is impossible to escape at all. There is no hope of fighting. Can only beg for mercy. Senior, spare my life. We have already taken refuge in the temple, and we hope that the predecessors will see the face of the temple and take our lives. We should not have seen what happened today. As for those temple powerhouses, they backed off one after another, fearing that they would be implicated, and everyone dared to intercede. Mo Luo shook his fist at random, without a word of nonsense, and shot again. Everything went smoothly and cleanly. The corpses of tens of thousands of monster beasts fell from the air, and their bodies also exuded the breath of death. The main body of the island master of the turtle spirit, a huge snapping turtle, has soared to its peak in strength, and is about to spy on the ultimate realm. Just one step away. As long as he creates a secret method, he can become an absolute top. At the beginning of the Three Kings Court, the Turtle Spirit Island Master received a lot of goods. Not only did his soul level improve a lot, he also got some ancient secrets. Now, with his full use, the divine body can actually skyrocket to 58,000 times. In terms of divine body, the Turtle Spirit Island Master is already a newcomer to the ultimate powerhouse. The Extreme Realm is actually very similar to the realm of Daojun in the Dian Immortal. It can be regarded as a qualitative change from the realm. It's like Dianxian got the recognition of the origin of the space and slightly controlled some space. The Absolute Peak Realm was originally divided for those emperors who reached the universe realm from space, but it was later discovered that entering Absolute Peak is not the only way to enter the universe realm. In addition to cosmic space, there are pinnacle secrets and divine bodies. This Turtle Spirit Island owner has a lot to ask for. Elevated the soul realm and wanted to create the pinnacle secret method to enter the pinnacle, But he did not stay in the divine body, relying on the many treasures obtained in the Three Kings' Court, and the battle with Broly all the way over the years. In particular, Broly was a lunatic. He only knew about fighting and had no interest in treasures, so he was interested in some inheritance. This can be seen from Jian Wushuang in the Shangqing Palace. And Broly has a high status in the Tomb Mountain, and there is no shortage of treasures. This is all cheap to the Guiling Island owner. This allowed him to increase the divine body to 58,000 times. Jian Wushuang was a little envious. His divine body is only 50,000 times, and now it has exceeded the limit of Dao Jun, and it is impossible to improve it anymore. It doesn't mean that he can't be promoted after becoming the emperor. After becoming the emperor, he can promote unscrupulously. And the beasts can also increase the divine body. However, he didn't want to waste this opportunity right now. Just as Mo Luo captured Guiling Island, Jian Wushuang raised Candle Dragon's arm, opened his eyes in the palm of his hand, swallowed directly, and rolled directly towards Guiling Island. Host. Upon seeing this, Mo Luo punched through the Guiling Island master again, letting his breath drop again, and stopped doing it. Jian Wushuang grabbed the giant tortoise that was originally majestic. The huge turtle spirit island owner, turned into only an inch long, the breath gathered all the way. Jian Wushuang played with it in his hand, and whispered softly, "Get your turtle shell back, I can give you a way to survive." 58,000 times the divine body is almost all condensed on this turtle shell. If he can take the complete tortoise shell, after he becomes the emperor, he can directly swallow the divine body on the turtle shell, at least it can improve his basic divine body. Thousands of times. This is an inestimable wealth. Upgrading the divine body, the more the later stage, the greater the cost required. As long as you can help yourself, you can't waste it. The thought of becoming an emperor, the resources needed are almost endless. Jian Wushuang feels a little headache. The power of devouring cannot be used unscrupulously, he can only get some treasures to improve himself. But these expenses brought him endless power. After he became the emperor, his beasts and gods were able to use their full strength, and by that time he could surpass 60,000 times the increase of the body. The secret method of the starry sky directly allowed him to achieve the ultimate realm. Not only these. There are also some treasures that he can fully grasp after becoming an emperor. For example, the Guantian chessboard he currently holds, it is the treasure of time and space. Once he became an emperor, he could copy more origins. At that time, all he copied was the origin of the universe, and it was still an extremely powerful origin of the universe. There is also the chess record left to him by the first true king. With the blessing of many treasures, after he becomes the emperor, he will completely transform into a dragon and jump out of this world. Hedao. Imminent. Now the only thing that stood in front of him was the causal calamity. This causal killing and calamity was originally very weak. After he entered the temple of the Chishan, his strength continued to skyrocket, and he had already reached a negligible state. At the beginning, he was still thinking, just solve it casually. There is no need for Hua Qing to take action, he only needs to go to the world of Tongtian Buddhism and find a few monk heads to help him resolve it. But now it can grow into a catastrophe, Yukanshu. Makes him feel a headache. Since knowing the Lord of the Universe, it is divided into 9 calamities. He felt more and more that this causal catastrophe, whether it was the catastrophe of his universe, had come early. It's not waiting. Jian Wushuang put the Guiling Island master away, and waited until the heaven realm to solve it. Now it is important to solve Broly and the wild beast first. Broly at this time could still hold on for some reason. According to Jian Wushuang's speculation, the 8-clawed beast emperor should have pinched the opponent to death. Not only was he puzzled, but even the 8-clawed beast king was puzzled. Obviously awakened the blood of the beast god, and his strength skyrocketed to the pinnacle in the extreme realm. How could it be so difficult to kill a 6th-order emperor? Zhu Dian's level analysis is very clear. They are the threshold, the first entry, the top, the pinnacle, and the perfection. These indigenous people think they have peak combat power, but in fact they are at best. Mo Luo is also at this level, barely reaching the top. This 8-clawed beast emperor was a little different, because he had awakened the blood of the beast god, and now he was standing at the top, and he was stronger than Mo Luo. And Broly's strength, although the stronger it became after the war, it was just about the same as Mo Luo. According to the strength of the octopus beast emperor, it should have killed the opponent long ago. But Broly's breath was still declining, and he was able to hold it for so long. There is something strange in this. Although Jian Wushuang knew something about Change Dao, he didn't know much. The octopus beast emperor also had fear in his heart, and he didn't take it seriously when he started to fight Broly, but now he was a little scared. The huge eyes turned his head. Knowing that Jian Wushuang had something to ask, he took the lead and said, "Strong human race, I know you have a feast with this person. This is the best opportunity to eradicate him. You still don't do it. Thanks, Tusk." Jian Wushuang shook his head. Chapter 5594. Although he was worried, he had not yet reached the point of cooperating with a wild beast. Even if the opponent can't kill Broly, he will wait for the two to decide the winner before taking the shot. Relying on external forces is ultimately uncontrollable. The White King was an example. The sudden fall left him unaccompanied by himself, and he was completely blinded in the Three Kings' court. Today, either you killed him or I killed you. Jian Wushuang's eyes changed and stared at the octopus beast emperor. His tone was cold, and the aura on his body began to rise. When the octopus beast king heard this, he was taken aback for a while, and after Jian Wushuang raised his aura to the peak, he couldn't help laughing and mocking. "It's up to you." Originally he thought how strong Jian Wushuang was, even he couldn't tell the details. Now that Jian Wushuang took the initiative to release his breath, he realized that he was just entering the extreme, and it was not enough to be afraid. "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, pulled out the Jueyun sword behind his right hand, and said, "Give you time for the last incense stick. If you can't solve it, I will solve you first." The moment the Jueyun sword was pulled out, the sword aura suddenly descended on the West Sea, and the entire West Sea was filled with that terrifying sword aura. It seems that this world is born for the sword. Dominate this world. Jian Wushuang's state at this moment is super strong. Actually stepped into the ultimate realm by virtue of the starry sky sword intent. He has crossed a realm now. From Daojun to the top. Star Catalogue. A wonderful picture scroll. He needs to hold the sword to describe it. Just drew out the Jueyun sword, the surrounding heaven and earth became frozen, the space was condensed, and the flow of time slowed down. This scene made Mo Luo leak his respect again, but the eight-claw beast emperor was originally a wild beast, and had a very low understanding of its origin. He couldn't see what the sword intent meant, and he didn't care at all. The only thing he worried about was Mo Luo, the black-robed old man who has been on the coast. Mo Luo's strength is not simple. If the three of them besieged him, it would be really dangerous. And he also saw that the black-robed old man obeyed the mysterious sword-wielding words in front of him. He was not afraid of Jian Wushuang's shot, but he was afraid that the other party would let Mo Luo shot. Thinking of this, he once again mobilized the power of the blood in his body and increased his strength. "Want to smash Broly completely. Die to me." The eight-clawed beast king's thousands of eyes are expanding, obviously using all his strength to trap Broly to death in one fell swoop. Broly, who was bound, only leaked ahead. At this moment, his hair was scattered, and the golden collar on his neck began to produce cracks. The weakness of his body is constantly declining, and there is no trace of color in his eyes, like white wax. Discovering that Broly's breath was weak again, the eight-clawed beast emperor used force again, preparing to kill Broly in one fell swoop. After exerting his full strength again, Broly's divine body also shattered. Once the divine body breaks, what remains is the origin. Although the origin is strong, it is very fragile without the defense of the divine body. At stake, the emperors of those temples are already thinking about running away. Once Broly fell, they couldn't stop the Shihai overlord at all. "Let's go. There is no chance. Go back and inform the other powerful people in the temple. The temple is not the only one in the realm of Broly. Since the gods left, the temple of the realm has gathered more than 10 superpowers. It is bound to take the entire land boundary in one fell swoop. When Broly fell, There were other people who would come to clean up the eight-clawed beast king. They were not worried about that. The difficulty is that I don't know how to deal with it. Jian Wushuang stabbed a knife in the middle. What are they going to say? They have already learned from the temple that Jian Wushuang is different from the past, both in strength and status. It is impossible to offend, and it is extremely stupid to offend Jian Wushuang for a dead person. And Broly has a violent personality, and he doesn't have any kindness to them. The only advantage is that Broly doesn't interfere when he divides the treasures, but it doesn't mean that no one squeezes them. Every time the treasure is distributed, the owner of Turtle Spirit Island takes the big head. With the relationship with Broly, they dare not say anything. For this, they all blamed Broly. Just when these people were about to leave, the world began to change. The original freeze-frame color gradually became a little unstable. This was Jian Wushuang's own aura, but it was invisibly disrupted. Not only did they feel puzzled, even Jian Wushuang also leaked a surprised expression. Jian Wushuang suddenly turned his head and looked at Broly. Obviously there is no chance of a comeback, and God seems to have given Broly another chance. Around Broly's neck, the collar burst completely. A fierce force erupted from Broly's body. That is the power from the ancient beast. This collar was born with Broly. No matter how he took it, he couldn't take it away, but today it was crushed by the eight-claw beast king. Originally Jian Wushuang didn't care about the collar at all. He thought it was just an ordinary treasure. But at the moment of breaking, Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed, and suddenly he thought of something. That mask. Jian was face-changed. When fleeing in the heavens, had such a breath in the mysterious masks obtained from the two demon Dao emperors. The same as Broly's shattered collar. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang shuddered. Things seemed not as simple as he thought. If Jiang Shong's strength is destined to be touched by him, then he has nothing to say. Just treat yourself as unlucky. Anyway, he didn't encounter any unlucky things. But Broly's rise made him a little skeptical. Especially the emergence of extinction. A mysterious strong man who controls the power of death can appear in the temple of the god, either stronger than the god of God, or has a relationship with the god of God. Invisibly, Jian Wushuang felt that he had fallen into a deep hollow again. This time it was stronger than the fear brought by the gods. As if he had entered this game of chess since countless epochs. Everything is so coincidental. With a flip of his hand, he took out the mask from the mustard seed, and grasped the black and white mask. Jian Wushuang settled down, staring deeply at Broly, whose breath was soaring, and said to himself, "No matter how you arrange it, after all, I am not as fast as I can improve. After the harmony, I see if you can predict how strong I will be after the harmony." He knew the path to the tribulation realm clearly. Secret Mahayana, space and universe. As long as these two things are done, he will be able to attack the robbery. Although he hasn't been in harmony, it's just a Daoist monarch. There is a lot of fantasy about the robbery realm. If he is known by others, I am afraid he will laugh at him as arrogant. But only he himself knows that once you and he succeed in harmony and follow the Starry Sky catalogue, his secret method will soon be able to Mahayana. The first sword of the Star catalogue can kill the top powerhouse, which is many times stronger than those ordinary peak secret methods. Chapter 5595. Maybe it was already in the Mahayana realm, but he couldn't feel it now. After all, it is a horrible secret that contains time. As for the cosmic space, he has a chessboard for viewing the sky, and his cultivation speed is many times faster than others do not know. President Chi's origin of the universe is probably more than the origin of the universe in the Temple of Chishan. This is the treasure of time and space that Xian Yi left for him. Even the first true king didn't understand it. It's far more than what the first true king said. With such a treasure, it would be too simple for him to achieve cosmic space. When he was in Daojun, he was able to condense 99% of the black holes in the space across the realm. Once the harmony is successful, he may reach the realm of the black hole directly. If the harmony is successful, everything in the body will skyrocket. The emperor is just too much. He intends to robbery, seeing a lot, listening a lot. His vision is high. He had witnessed the power of the Six Tribulations realm, and that was his goal. Those gods and generals who were envious in the past are just a passing moment. After Fuego returned to his peak, he consulted the power of the opponent's Jie realm. That's what he wants to pursue. No matter how powerful Mieshing is, there are real spirits that can contain the opponent, and Mieshing has now left the Temple of Chishan. He has time to practice and transcend. In this game of chess, not only the two players are playing, but he is also gradually becoming a player from a pawn. Even in the future, he will have the power to overturn the chessboard. Wait. Jian Wushuang's eyes have never been so firm. Staring at Broly below and discovering the changing strength of the opponent, he didn't have any surprises or a sense of oppression. The Octopus Beast Emperor was a little panicked. Broly's breath began to rise gradually, and the force of that fierce beast broke through the cage and instantly entered Broly's body. Broly raised his head slowly, and the hair rose instantly. The hair that was originally dangling turned white and exploded directly. Broly, with white hair, his divine body suddenly condensed, and his physical body also recovered. Then gritted his teeth and roared, directly shattering the restraint of the eight-clawed Beast Emperor. Broly, who was standing diagonally in the air, leaked a wicked smile. This scene trembles the temple powerhouses who want to withdraw. The eight-claw Beast Emperor only felt that his 8 tentacles were numb, and that breath was too strong. Broly moved his wrist slightly, as if feeling the strength in his body now. Jian Wushuang saw something and roared immediately, "Hurry up, you idiot." Now Broly has not completely mastered the power in the body, the eight-clawed Beast Emperor still has a chance. Once Broly has mastered the power in the body, the eight-clawed Beast Emperor will undoubtedly die. After hearing the reminder, no matter how stupid the Octopus Beast Emperor was, he understood that there should be some restriction hidden in Broly's body. Now the restriction has been broken, his strength has skyrocketed, and he has not completely absorbed control. If he doesn't read the book, there will be no chance. When Broly slowly raised his hand, Jian Wushuang understood that there was no chance. A grip of the void. An incomparably huge black ball power gathered in the palm of Broly's palm. That power made the world retreat, and the breath directly shook the emperors who were watching the game back countless miles. Dead. A simple word reveals extremely crazy domineering. Boom. A huge beam of light swept across the west coast indiscriminately. The mundane world instantly turned into dust, countless famous mountains and rivers turned into ashes. Jian Wushuang now understood how that ruin in the human world had formed. At the moment the beam of light broke out, he had long since pulled away and dodged. The eight-clawed Beast Emperor's body was so big that it was already difficult to move, and could not hide at all, so he could only resist. In the beam of light, the 8 shots of the eight-clawed Beast Emperor broke and turned into powder. Seeing that he was about to fall completely, Jian Wushuang was also a little panicked. The eight-clawed Beast Emperor still has the blood of the beast he needs, so it can't be wasted. The Jueyun sword held upside down in his hand was chopped out in one piece, unremarkable. Although it is not the first sword in the star catalogue, but with his current strength, this sword is enough for the moment. The killing of Kendo is so wonderful. His own realm is obviously only the first to reach the top, but his combat power can stop Broly, an absolute powerhouse who has stepped into the top. The beam of light instantly turned into 2 halves. At this time, only half of the beam of light hit the eight-claw Beast Emperor half to death, his body trembling constantly, 8 tentacles, cut off. He never expected that Broly would be so strong, never thought that Jian Wushuang would save him. Practitioner, I'm with you. Seeing Jian Wushuang's action, the Octopus Beast Emperor thought he was going to join forces against Broly, but he didn't expect Jian Wushuang to cut another sword. Although the power of this sword is not comparable to that of Broly, the power of the sword is purer, and it did not destroy it with great fanfare like Broly. The eight-clawed Beast Emperor just turned into 2 halves. When he died, the eight-clawed Beast Emperor didn't understand why Jian Wushuang had to kill him first. Plop, plop. A huge heart is still beating. But the demon core of the Octopus Beast Emperor has dimmed. Yukanshu. Com Jian's hands are sharp and fast, and he grabs the heart of the Beast Emperor with one hand, and directly swallows it, absorbing all the blood power in it. Then a group of trembling blood appeared in his origin. He just swallowed the essence and blood into his body. As for the effort of refining to become a beast god, it is far from enough. Now in the Chishan temple, there is only one strong person who can help him refine his blood. Xuanwu Palace Master, the one with the same name as his master Xian Yi. The opponent is not only a master puppet, but also a great power in refining the Tao. It is countless times stronger than Qiu Huang's kind of caste god. Even the Frozer can't match it. But this is something to prepare for in the future, and he has to solve Broly now. This enemy is likely to be a chess piece in the layout of extinction. He had already transmitted Wuzhua, and asked him to find the true spirit for verification. If it is really an extinction layout, he will have to kill even more. Broly stared at some familiar figures in front of him, and his fighting spirit rose. In his eyes, there are no companions at all. Except for his father Bu Kuan, there are only strong men who can fight against him. Warlike blood boiled in him. In the past, he was able to suppress one or two, but now that the ban is widened, it is difficult for him to stop the monstrous fighting spirit. You have to be my enemy. Broly is a war mad, with a keen sense of fighting. He also found the same aura on Jian Wushuang's body. This makes him happy. War. Born for war. To the dead. Jian Wushuang stared at Broly and looked at it carefully. The other party's changes were great, and his flesh became even more burly, with his white hair standing upright as if he had blown out his hair. His body was wrapped in white arrogance. He has witnessed the power of change Tao with his own eyes. Chapter 5596. It is indeed not weaker than the ultimate knowing. It's a pity that he not only masters the ultimate kendo, but also the extreme Tao that is even more against the sky. One thought of the universe. Jian Wushuang didn't have any reservations. As soon as he came up, his firepower was full. Directly exert a thought on the universe, and the power of life will also cover the whole body. Broly's power is very powerful. If he can't dodge, he may fall in an instant. Fortunately, he has the power of life. As long as there is a trace of energy, he can instantly restore his peak. Interesting. Broly didn't know why Jian Wushuang wanted to fight him, but he didn't care either, because he liked fighting. He stepped forward and directly entered Yin-Yang universe, and found that his power was instantly suppressed. He did not shrink back, and rushed directly to Jian Wushuang's side. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He didn't expect that the impact of the universe on Broly would be so small. When dealing with Zhu Jian, he was able to suppress 30% of the combat power, but now he has only suppressed Broly's strength by 10%. The speed of dealing with it was not as slow as he thought, but it was surprisingly fast. Fortunately, under the blessing of Yin-Yang universe, he teleported and dodged, and did not choose to head on. Broly missed a punch and froze for a while, then turned to look at Jian Wushuang behind him, tilted his head and said, "Are you only hiding?" Jian Wushuang stared at Broly, or at the back of Broly, a dark hole appeared where he was just standing. It was brought out by Broly with a punch. It was the first time that he could smash the universe of his thoughts. This is really a strong enemy. In the universe, outsiders can't see the fight between the two at all, they can only vaguely hear the sound of bursting void. And the one-minded universe now riddled with holes. A huge circular universe has been smashed out of numerous large holes. Mo Luo was a little anxious in the outside world, wanted to enter, but found that he couldn't get in at all. He had seen Yin-Yang universe, and it was the first time he had seen it if he could be labeled as such. This shows that Broly's strength is far beyond Jian Wushuang. He kept spreading the sound of Jian Wushuang, fearing that Jian Wushuang would have fallen, and now he has finally managed to keep up with a patron. If he had fallen like this, he would have no meaning to live. "Are you afraid that I won't die fast enough?" Boom. After hearing Jian Wushuang's reply, Mo Luo breathed a sigh of relief, but in the next moment the circular universe burst completely. Jian Wushuang's figure also appeared in front of everyone. The emperors who were onlookers watched from a distance, not daring to move forward. Mo Luo rushed over and said anxiously, "Young master, thousands of words, but I don't know where to say it. Can't persuade Jian Wushuang to escape. Don't talk about it, as long as you walk with those wastes, this place will soon disappear." Jian Wushuang held the Jueyun sword upside down, turned and looked at the collapsed and contracted yin-yang universe, his eyes condensed. The clothes on his body were already in tatters, leaking out the candle dragon's armor. The scarlet arm protruded from the candle dragon's wings, and a group of the power of all things that had been condensed long ago was thrown out again, thrown into the collapsed universe. Then he turned his head and yelled at Mo Luo, "Go!" Mo Luo was at a loss, took 2 steps back, with mixed feelings in his heart, and finally turned and fled. At the same time, shouted at the temple emperors who were still watching the battle, "Leave quickly, don't be conceited." Jian Wushuang was right that this place was about to be destroyed. Because after the collapse of the universe, after turning into a pole, it will burst completely. By then, the west coast will be turned into ruins, just like the ruins of the human world. This kind of battlefield ruins are not ordinary ruins, they will form the void like the great wilderness, and even the power will disappear together. Without power, this place is not suitable for cultivation, and even mortals cannot survive. If it were an ordinary collapse and burst, I am afraid that it would not form a middle ruin, but Jian Wushuang added a group of extremely terrifying power of all things. That group of power of all things will destroy all the power of all things here. And Broly is still trapped in the collapsed universe. Jian Wushuang was waiting for the explosion of the universe outside. If none of this can kill you, then which sword is the only one left? Jian Wushuang's eyes kept fighting. In this battle, he constantly surpassed the limit. Although he failed to suppress Broly, he was able to fight the opponent for so long without falling below. His combat power is also rising. Fighting with the natural of war, he does not have the oppression of those people, and some are just happy. After becoming the strong, that's how it should be. If there is no opponent, wouldn't it be boring? The collapsing universe quickly turned into a pole. After Jian Wushuang saw it, a thought force burst out, and the candle dragon wings also enveloped him. A force that extinguished the universe burst instantly, spread out, and faded away. The high tide of the sea wiped away the heaven and the earth. Everything in the world began to die at this moment. Although he was wrapped in the wings of a candle dragon, Jian Wushuang was still shaken back tens of thousands of miles before slowly taking hold of his figure. In this dead space, let alone fighting, it is difficult to survive. Jian Wushuang has the power of all things, so naturally it doesn't matter. He wanted to see how he could change the way of change. At the core of the burst, he could clearly feel a force. It was Broly. Sure enough, the other party was not dead. But he was also seriously injured. Originally there was the universe of one mind, and he was able to fight against Broly without losing the wind, but gradually he discovered that Broly's changing way was adapting to the universe of one mind. In other words, once he fully adapts, Broly will no longer be suppressed by the universe of one mind, but can still be blessed by the universe of one mind, so he will choose to blue the universe of one mind. Not only can this situation be stopped, but Broly can be seriously injured. And he himself is still at his peak. Change everything. This move made his chassis all useless, and Jian Wushuang was still a little shocked by this. Silence. Amidst the countless smoke and dust, a burly figure stood in the void. It's Broly. Numerous wounds on his body are slowly healing. Although Jian Wushuang does not have the abnormal recovery speed, it is not too slow. Jian Wushuang didn't care about this, but he found that Broly's breath didn't seem to weaken much. On the contrary, there was still a tendency to rise. The original white arrogance has now been added with a white arc. Your move is very interesting. Broly walked out slowly. He didn't feel any sense of the burst of the universe just now. Instead, he became very interested in Jian Wushuang's yin-yang universe just now. Raise your hand a little, a pole appears from the tip of your finger, and a terrifying power follows. Jian Wu was shocked, and quickly backed away, surprised. How is it possible? That extreme point is clearly the extreme point after the collapse of the universe. Chapter 5597. Fortunately, he is more familiar with it and backs away fast enough. Otherwise, no matter how strong his physical body is, he will fall. Broly is stronger than he thought, or the defense is beyond his imagination. Not only can it resist the self-detonation of the universe, but can also imitate the universe that has collapsed to the extreme. The extreme explosion, although not as powerful as his one thought when the universe exploded, it was similar to 7 or 8. Jian Wushuang put away the package of Candle Dragon's wings, and the broken flesh in his chest recovered, and a blood shed from the corner of his mouth, slowly dripping from the sky. He gathered his strength again and wanted to reach the peak state, otherwise he was not Broly's opponent at all, but this time he had not succeeded in gathering his energy, and the opponent punched him straight to the door. It's faster. Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry to dodge, he could only raise his hand to resist. Boom! The whole body was shaken back, and fell directly on the land like coke below. When he got up again, Broly was already in front of him, and the terrifying pressure made him breathless. After being passively beaten one after another, although he recovered quickly, he could not maintain that peak state. Under normal circumstances, he was simply not enough for the opponent Broly. That repressive force is stronger than any opponent he has encountered. A little distraction is about to fall. Wow! The void was torn through countless cracks by the white arc. Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to jump into the crack, and when he reappeared, he was already in the void. A large group of life force poured into the whole body. You also have an immortal body? Broly closed his fists and turned to look at Jian Wushuang in the void, a little surprised. Immortal? Jian Wushuang raised his jaw and said, "What do you think is the immortal body?" Until now, he understood why Broly's feeling of oppression was so strong. His defensive power is simply a metamorphosis level, and he can't kill it at all. And the power is terribly powerful. Apparently, he has realized the secret of the pinnacle. Otherwise it's impossible to force it like this. Fighting again and again, constantly transforming, constantly surpassing. From Broly when he started with the 8-clawed Beast King, his strength has now been doubled. To deal with the strong of this kind of change, you need to be at least one level stronger than the opponent, otherwise you will not be able to win at all, because the opponent will become stronger as the battle becomes stronger. Cool. Broly's figure flashed, and he was also standing in the void, his pewter eyes staring at Jian Wushuang, his voice hoarse. I haven't lost, naturally I am immortal. This is quite domineering. Haven't lost? Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank and he asked himself. He came from a weak point. Although he has won many times, he hasn't lost so much. Perhaps the opponent he met was too strong every time, and every time he was better than him by several levels. Just say that when he first met King Bai, he was a daoist. What could he do to face the most powerful? Broly even said such words, it seems that he has not been hit. Kang. He drew out the Jueyun sword again, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said, I have never lost this sword before. Today I will share the victory or defeat with you, as well as life and death. Star Catalogue. The first sword. He did not lose. After all, it hadn't been long since he was created. He did not lose in the battle and extinction, but it was a pity that the opponent's deity appeared, and he could not help it. Broly looked at him, but was stunned for a while, playing with the taste. I just want to win, I didn't want to kill you, it can be seen that you are just a daoist. Jia. Jian Wushuang looked up to the sky and let out a weird laugh. He had thought that some people disdain to kill him, just want to win. Is this a daoist looking down on him? This kind of disdain is the only way he treats others from time to time, the kind of mercy that doesn't kill. Has anyone ever offered him arms? If the other party says that he will be broken into pieces, this is the greatest respect. Jian Wushuang slowly lowered his head, then glanced at it, staring at the invincible Broly, and said with a trembling voice, Broly, do you know who killed your father? Bu Kuan. When Broly heard his father, he obviously paused, his body trembling slightly. His father is more like a yoke that binds him, and his violent nature tends to restrain him a little bit. The feeling of treating his father made him very comfortable, although he came to the realm for the purpose of looking for his father's enemy. But he valued the battle again and again. Now when he heard his father again, his body was trembling, and his breath was declining. Broly raised his finger to Jian Wushuang, and the arc on his body disappeared, degenerating into a white arrogance. Yes, I killed your father, and Bu Kuan died in my hands. Jian Wushuang leaked a satisfied smile. He disdained to use this method to reduce the opponent's strength, just to make Broly angry. Let him understand that one of the two must have fallen today. Since the battle, he has also fallen into a frenzy of fighting. Arth! Broly suddenly hugged his head, arched his body and roared, as if there was a fierce beast raging in his body. Jian Wushuang was very excited about this. Yukinshu. Seemed that Broly was going crazy this time. Buchan's strength is too weak. When I killed him, I couldn't bear even one move. Jian Wushuang shook his head, his tone of disdain. Just like killing a trash, there is nothing worth talking about. Not a proud record. An ordinary fifth-order emperor can kill him by blowing his breath. Of course, all of this was fabricated by him, and Bu Kuan did die because of him, but he didn't kill him. He didn't take the other party seriously at all, but the situation had changed at that time. He didn't want his back path to be controlled by outsiders, and he had to kill the prince of the Moluo kingdom. Killing Bu Kuan was just incidental. Unexpectedly, today he attracted an extremely powerful opponent. Jian Wushuang really didn't regret it. No matter how powerful it is a pawn. Broly, who was struggling, gradually recovered. Although his hands were drooping and his head could not be lifted, the breath on his body was restored, and the white arc surrounding his body became more vigorous. A fierce beast phantom flew out of his body, this time it completely disappeared. Broly in full body. The pinnacle of change. At this moment, Broly's strength is comparable to Wuzhou. Even stronger than those messengers in the Temple of Forbidding God. Jian Wushuang. Broly slowly raised his head, not knowing if he was mad or why, he actually smiled with his mouth raised. Jian Wushuang. He clenched fists with both hands, leaned back, and his breath exploded again. Jian Wushuang couldn't open his eyes, with his hands in front of him. Finally, do you want to take it seriously? Jian Wushuang endured the storm and put down his hands to face Broly. Chapter 55-98. He is very confident in the first sword in the star catalogue. No matter how powerful Broly is, as long as this sword is born, everything will be destroyed. Let this emptiness turn into a starry sky portrait. Space and time must be squeezed into a painting. This sword is his greatest reliance. Are you ready? Jian Wushuang held the sword in one hand and slowly closed his eyes. He was feeling the power from the stars. There should be an end to the battle between the two. In a chaotic area extremely far away from the West Sea. Mo Luo and the others stood here, but the direction of the West Sea was a piece of scorched earth, which became the ruins of the battlefield. The strong man in the headquarters of the Earth Temple had already felt the strong aura of the fight, but no one came to watch or stop it. Bai Yi's clone was sitting on the temple, still holding a token in his hand. When Jian Wushuang and Broly had just fought, he received the news. Before he could go, Zhenling personally stopped him. At this time, a very subtle scene appeared in front of him. Bai Duan sat on the hall, but the true spirit was like a withered old man, standing at the door of the hall, looking into the distance. Master True Spirit, really want to give up Broly? Bai Yi was still a little bit reluctant, and his tone was also unwilling. After all, he is a powerhouse of Change Dao, and he has grown to this point now. Zhenling didn't answer, just shook his head, which is also an attitude. Obviously Bai Yi didn't know the truth. The truth of the extinction may not be known to the four main hall masters. It turns out that you are going to destroy the Temple of Chishan, Zhenling said to himself. At the beginning, he guessed and guessed, constantly flipping through the timeline. No one could be found. Originally thought it was Jian Wushuang, but later felt that it was not. He shot Hua Qing and found the clues, starting with Jiang Shong. In the end, the extinction came, and he understood everything. It is not that others want to destroy the Temple of Chishan, but he himself wants to destroy the Temple of Chishan. Since the catastrophe was set at the beginning, why bother to create the Temple of Chishan and create him? He is also a pawn. You shouldn't believe him. Zhenling gritted his teeth and roared from the bottom of his heart. He has very little information on extinction. But it can also be found that the other party is not simple at all. At first he was the second strongest in Maruor time and space, a half-step 7 tribulations realm strong. Maruor time and space is a long river of medium time and space. It is very good to have a 7 tribulation realm powerhouse in countless times. With the appearance of the gods, many people originally thought that Moruo's time and space would expand and become a dazzling river of time and space in the starry sky. The result eventually died. Behind all this, I am afraid that there is a plan for extinction. Although I don't know what the other party promised to the original god, but looking at it now, the of the time clearly believed the other person. And the few people taken away by extinction are also very subtle. Among the 3 true kings that the Chishan abandoned the way of devouring, 2 of them are still alive, or from another perspective, both are still alive. Mountain King, Ancient King, Demon King. Shanjun's body was decomposed at the beginning, and besides Shanjun, 4 demon masters were separated. There were only 2 people who knew of the true spirit, and both were taken away by extinction. And Jiang Shong, this heaven-defying practitioner, appeared in the temple of Chishan. He had been on guard since Jiang Shong appeared. It didn't appear early, it didn't appear late, but it appeared now. Since Jiang Shong was also on the chessboard, Broly was probably the one who died. Among the 4 great secret realms, it is impossible to give birth to a strong robbery realm. The practitioners in the secret realm all have defects, and this cannot be changed. Unless it was he who took the initiative to transform the other party's origin. Neither Jiang Shong nor Brolita had ever been reformed. This is obviously a placed by extinction. Even if Jian Wushuang didn't make a move, he would personally get rid of Broly. But now that Jian Wushuang is taking action, some gossip can be subtracted. He didn't care about this in the past. Today is different from the past. The appearance of extinction is also good and evil. Not only will it threaten the current temple of Chishan, it may also threaten his status. What if the opponent has something to kick him out of the game? When the time comes, it will be unreasonable. Fortunately, he had the foresight and created the Palace of the Elders, holding the inheritors firmly in his own hands. Now the 4 halls, he didn't believe it anymore. Mieshan cooperated with the deity back then. If Bai Yi and the people knew about this, I'm afraid they would really rebel and switch to Mieshan. He has to wait now, wait for the extinction to come true. I am afraid that after the other party leaves, there is no movement, and it is him who is passive. If there is an accident, I will run away. Take the Temple of Chishan to other time and space rivers. Exploring the 4 secret realms over and over again, as well as the entire interior of the Chishan Temple. Junling never rest assured. On the battlefield of the West Coast, there is going to be a peak showdown. Jian Wushuang versus Broly. Now Jian Wushuang is standing at his peak again. His strength is comparable to that of an absolute powerhouse, which sword in his hand can kill the absolute peak. Broly has also reached the perfect body, the potential in the body is fully stimulated, and the change path is displayed to the peak. The combat power has reached the pinnacle of horror. Comparable to the ancient powerhouse like Wuzhou who has practiced for countless years. Jian Wushuang's figure began to flicker, and the speed was beyond imagination. The figure is obviously still in place, but the breath has reached the deepest part of the void. Starry Sky Catalogue. Jian Wushuang shouted angrily, and Jueyun's sword lay in front of him, and the next moment he dived directly into Broly. The first sword. The sword spirit is vast, and it tilts abruptly. Countless thoughts are trembling, space changes, time freezes. Broly clenched his fists with both hands and placed it on his waist. With his toes abruptly, he directly smashed the condensed space under his feet, and rushed towards Jian Wushuang without any advance. Numerous waves of energy were condensed in his hands, and he kept throwing towards Jian Wushuang. It's just that the speed of the power condensed by these breaths is reduced, which is too slow for Jian Wushuang. Countless huge circular energies are frozen in the void, hanging like the sun and the moon. At the tip of the Jueyun sword, a little starry sky exploded, and the space began to twist from the tremor. Time completely freezes, and it freezes Broly's body. He still has too little control of time, and he can only comprehend some of the profound meanings in the first sword of the starry sky. All he can do is to freeze Broly in the void, and he cannot freeze the opponent's consciousness. So Broly can feel that his speed has slowed down, but his consciousness and thoughts are still moving fast. After being frozen, he burst out with a powerful aura again, trying to break the cage. The body is frozen, but the mind is still there. He escaped from the physical body, and the divine body rushed out with the original source. This scene shocked Jian Wushuang. Two Broly appeared in the frozen void. One is a dim body, who has been abandoned by Broly, and the opponent is very decisive when he arrives. Chapter 5599. But it is the same now, without the physical body, it is impossible to stop him by virtue of the divine body. Cut. Jian Wushuang once again exhausted his whole body strength, turning the direction and rushing towards Broly's divine body. The majestic divine body is not constrained by time. Broly also knows that there is no physical presence. He is very fragile now and must break the prohibition here as soon as possible. Although only the divine body is left, the power of each punch still has the highest strength, and it is smashed with one punch, and the void is constantly shattered. In front of Broly, the frozen void was like mirrors. Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank, and if this continued, he couldn't attack Broly at all. In addition, the power consumed by this sword was too great, and he couldn't drag the opponent down. Broly, can you only hide? Jian Wushuang was furious, and could only anger the opponent with words, and yelled, "You are not worthy of being a monk or a qualified warrior. You have forgotten Bu Kun's teachings. Take out all your strength and fight me head-on." Confrontation. He is invincible. This sword is invincible. Broly's eyes changed from white wax to blood red, and the white arc on his body also turned blood. The breath is advancing by leaps and bounds again. This breath made Jian Wushuang feel familiar and terrified. He knows a lot about the powers of the Tribulation Realm, and he has also looked at several powers of the Tribulation Realm, such as Fuigan and other superpowers in the Six Tribulations realm. He was so familiar with that breath. Broly could still explode, which he did not expect. This time the aura was already comparable to Tribulation Realm. With the sword on the string, he couldn't control that much anymore. Now even if the leaned over Broly, he would rush over and cut the opponent. This is the only chance. Every time there is only one chance left, he will ask himself in his heart, if this is the last chance in his life, how he can exert his strength beyond his own and win the opponent. If it can't be taken, he will fall. So he must win. Jianjian freezes the void, freezes the time. Now in this void, only the gods of him and Broly can move. Broly transformed again, and after stepping into another realm, there was no violent anger, but a trace of calmness. Facing his strongest sword, he didn't dodge to hide, but faced each other. This is in his arms. The Jueyun sword came in an instant, turning into hundreds of millions of miles in size, facing Broly. The other party wanted to hide now, there was no chance. Jian Wushuang seemed to have seen Broly's fall through time. But at this moment, in the headquarters of the Earth Realm Temple, the true spirit suddenly confused the gods, yelling badly, and rushed towards Jian Wushuang in a hurry. The true spirit shuttles at will in the four great secret realms, and it only takes one breath to reach Jian Wushuang's position. But for the peak power, a breath is still a bit slow. The first sword. Become. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. This time, he had a lot of insights into the complete display, and the first sword was truly perfected to a perfect state. The space within 1,000,000 miles around turned into a portrait, leaving only a fresh life for him. Broly's breath can no longer be felt. In the portrait, Broly has red hair and a red arc flashing on his body. He stretched out in one hand to pinch Jian Wushuang's Jueyun sword. Really arrogant. Jian Wushuang looked at this scene with disdain in his heart. It's too much to underestimate the power of the starry sky if he tried to block him with in vain. Looking down at his masterpiece, Jian Wushuang was very satisfied. It's just that his Jueyun sword also fell into the portrait this time, becoming a dead thing. But it's not a big deal, he can use the power of life to take it out. It's not difficult. Just as he was about to divide the picture scroll and prepare to accept it, the space that was frozen in the picture scroll began to tremble. Jian Wushuang glanced around in surprise. The next moment, his chest burst, and a big hand appeared in front of him at some unknown time. When he reacted and wanted to mobilize the power of life to replenish himself, death had already come, and his power of life was firmly suppressed in the source. That crazy force of death is still devouring his life force. Jian Wushuang opened his mouth and his eyes widened. Life is constantly losing. It's Broly. In other words, it is extinction. Mieshing took control of Broly, suddenly shattered his starry sky catalogue, took the opportunity to sneak attack, and penetrated his chest in one fell swoop. The Candle Dragon's inner armor was completely shattered and turned into fragments. Without a complete source of the Beast God, the Beast God weapon can easily be crushed by a strong robbery. It's easy to resist the extremity, but his face is extinction, the super-existence that can confront the true spirit deity head-on. He wanted to transmit the true spirit, but he couldn't do it. This time it was his turn to despair completely. That touch of death power madly swallowed his life. In a trance, he also understood. No wonder, he will evolve from the power of all things to the power of life, and it turns out that he has relative power. UU reading www.ukanshu.com. I have now become a stepping stone for others. Space can be combined with time to form space and time. Life combined with death can also form reincarnation. This is not a simple reincarnation, just like Hua Qing has mastered the Zen machine, it is reincarnation. Now he has caught a glimpse of the true meaning of reincarnation. That is a complete reincarnation. One level with time and space. That is the power beyond the tribulation realm. Is a shortcut to a higher level. Jian Wushuang understood at this moment. However, he discovered that even though the power of death could suppress him, the power contained in it was not as powerful as the extinct deity. Relatively, it is also mutual. If the power of death in the six tribulations realm erodes the power of life, I am afraid that it will be empty, and the opponent is just a group of death power of the highest level. He still has hope. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang used the last thought, went to the sea of his own origin, and condensed into an incarnation. At this time, the sea of his origin, the waves rolled. When his avatar appeared, he happened to see the force of death. The condensed avatar of the life force is the same as the deity's appearance, except that the body exudes a green aura. After the force of death discovered Jian Wushuang's incarnation, he twisted for a while and turned into Jian Wushuang's appearance, only black. Jie, you can't stop me. Black Jian Wushuang sneered. Jian Wushuang shot directly. This place is the sea of his origin. Can he be threatened by an outsider? You are trying to swallow me in vain. Jian Wushuang shouted angrily and started directly. The two only used their pure power to fight, and they didn't want to fight to the death like the deity, and the secret method was rampant. Chapter 5600. The Purest Death and the Purest Life. This time Jian Wushuang became stronger in Vietnam. It was the fear of death and the desire to treat life. The power of death is different. Can you hear that it's better to die than to live? Jian Wushuang didn't forget his words when he was free. Although death is terrible, it brings fear to people. But the resilience of the life force cannot be exerted without facing death. Now that he is dying head-on, the life force has completely exploded. Give it to me, get out. Jian Wushuang smashed the force of death with a fist, then a flash appeared behind the opponent, and another upper knee, directly condensing the force of death to the figure, completely dispelling it. Jian Wushuang, who was holding a rough air, slowly turned his head, and found that the black aura had turned into his appearance in a blink of an eye. People are mortal, and some people need a little help. This is a response to him. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and sneered, I don't need your help because my helper has arrived outside world. The powerful breath of the true spirit suddenly descended. Extinction, you have crossed the line. An invisible giant hand directly pulled the power of death from Jian Wushuang's body directly through Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang in the Sea of Origins breathed a sigh of relief. When the force of death was torn away, a small black snake fell into the sea, and no one noticed it. Jian Wushuang's incarnation directly feeds himself back, completely recovering from his injuries. It's just that the inner armor of the candle dragon is over, and there are some fragments left. I don't know if it can be repaired. Having just finished using the Starry Sky catalog, he is now the weakest. Although there is no injury on his body, he cannot mobilize the power of the Starry Sky and cannot enter the strongest state. Now he has only barely reached the fighting power of the Fifth Order Emperor. If there is no power from the Starry Sky, I am afraid that he will have the same combat power, so he can fight for the Sixth Order Emperor with the help of his divine body. Nai Yuan really gave him a piece of Kuei Bao. Zhenling turned his head and glanced at Jian Wushuang, completely shattering the power of death in his hand. Take this person and get out. The true spirit has never been so angry. Because of the extinction, it has seriously interfered with the inside of the Chishan temple. Moreover, the power in Jian Wushuang's body is the opposite of mission, which is probably part of the plan. The extinct deity did not completely come, but the power of death remaining in Brolis' body was at work. Wow! From Brolis' origin, a dark shadow appeared. It is extinction. You found all of this. Mie Sheng leaked a smile, and then a black halo covered Broly with a wave of his hand. Brolis' divine body and physical body reunited, but now he fell into a deep sleep. Zhenling stood in front of Jian Wushuang, staring at all this without saying anything. Jian Wushuang was a little unwilling, and said, "My lord, you can't let them go. It's better to kill the Dharmakaya of Broly and Miesheng. Wouldn't it be a pity to let him go like this? Little guy, a Broly will scare you." Miesheng cast a bad look. Broly's change really scared Jian Wushuang to pick it up. Jiang Shong was abnormal enough and couldn't let go of another enemy. Zhenling shook his head and said, "Before I don't regret it, let's go quickly. It's not that the true spirit is soft-hearted, but he can't make the move first." A will in my heart firmly suppressed him. It was a huge fragment of memory, a fragment of the goddess. This has not yet merged that piece of fragment. It can interfere with his consciousness. If it is merged, I am afraid that the current temple of the gods is already in charge. Miesheng also saw the true face of the true spirit entangled, and reminded, "You are the true spirit of the Salvo Hall, and part of the gods, don't forget." This can be regarded as a mistake in the original plan between him and the god. Unexpectedly, when the true spirit appears, there will be independent consciousness. Otherwise, the plan will be even smoother than it is now. It is precisely because of the independent consciousness that the true spirit really hated the way of swallowing and hated Jian Wushuang at the beginning. Miesheng took Broly and walked away in the channel opened by the true spirit. The channel eventually healed again. The extinction that left the Temple of Chishan appeared on the top of the universe. At the foot is a circular universe, standing on a huge celestial body, the extinct law body cursed. Because this place is not a primitive universe, and even the Temple of Chishan is not a long river of time and space. The two of them had just appeared, and a team of foreign powerhouses wearing strange armors moved in this direction. This time and space can be more powerful than the long river of time and space where the original universe is located. Even more powerful than the original Maruor time and space several times. Wait, fellow Dao. The extinct law body has a back, instantly raising its power to the Tribulation Realm, and I want to talk to this team of experts. The leading scorpion woman wearing a purple armor swayed her tail. She was a superb scorpion race. After discovering that extinction is a realm, there is no trace of fear, but a bit of fun. You dare to break into my scorpion human race's nest-covering universe. You are so bold. These powerful patrols of them are all emperors. It doesn't mean that there are no strong people in the robbery realm, and they are here. When the extinction was just discovered, there was a strong man who exceeded the 5 tribulations realm, and he began to descend. A huge shadow enveloped everyone. Subordinates pay homage to the general. After sending away the extinction, Zhenling's complexion eased a bit. It was not all because of the memory fragments in his body interfering with him just now, but the backlash that he opened up a channel to other time and space, which brought him back. This was also an experiment, so I took Broly to practice with Miesheng. There shouldn't be any problems with maintaining the channel between two people. But this is not enough. It is impossible to send away the Temple of Fortune God, But he can send away several trusted inheritors in the Temple of Fortune God, and he can still do it. For example, Jian Wushuang right now. Jian Wushuang, have you ever thought of leaving here? Zhenling's sudden words shocked Jian Wushuang. Thinking that Zhenling didn't want him anymore, he hurriedly bowed to show his loyalty. Okay, I didn't mean that. Right now you have also seen that the extinction is for you, and the Temple of Chishan is not important anymore. Zhenling told the truth. Jian Wushuang could also feel it. After all, it was the road of reincarnation, comparable to the road of time and space. If this is to allow extinction to succeed, Chishan Temple, it really doesn't matter. No one knows what will become of the strength of extinction at that time. After Jian Wushuang breathed a sigh of relief, he respectfully said, "It's all up to the adults to decide. After joining the Tao, I will give you a chance after joining the Tao, and then I will leave the Temple of Chishan for a while," Zhenling said slowly with his hands behind his back. Now Jian Wushuang's strength, although he has the ability to protect himself when traveling to other time and space, it is still too weak. At least you must go out after the success of the harmony. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.